Now, I told you earlier that there is something in Fresno that's coming that you guys thought wasn't going to come, but it's on its way. Let's bring in Tom Lang from the Fresno Aquarium. Tom, how's it going?
Thank you, Chuck. Great to be here.
Now, am I right in saying that people thought you were nuts?
They still say that.
Yeah.
It hasn't changed.
Like, people don't think it's ever going to happen, but I was just by there the other day, and there's all kinds of things happening.
There are. But most of that's Caltrans. You know, they're expanding the freeway out there, but that's a good thing, because we're going to have 6 lanes all the way through Fresno, all the way to Madera eventually, all the way to Sacramento eventually.
Wow.
So that's awesome. But they're actually
Old Highway
doing work
99 deserves a facelift,
It does.
doesn't it?
It does.
Yeah.
It's getting jammed up.
Now, so you had this idea to make an aquarium.
Well, actually, a bunch of us had the idea. We
Well,
don't
no,
want
well,
this to
wait.
be Tom's Aquarium,
No,
okay?
no,
It's
no,
not.
no.
It's,
So you guys get together and you're like, hey, let's bring an aquarium to Fresno.
we have a great water story to tell here.
Right.
You know, there's an amazing water story in Fresno, and most people don't know it. I mean, we have people right here in Fresno that have never been to the river. They have no idea. The San Joaquin River, the San Joaquin Valley, it's all connected to this giant watershed that goes to the ocean. And no one tells that story. You know, you go to Monterey Bay
Right.
Aquarium, they tell their story.
That's what I was going to
but
say.
we don't tell our
this,
story.
This is a river aquarium. This isn't going to be like Monterey Bay Aquarium.
No.
This is going to have fish that are from the rivers and from the
Live
lakes in our area.
Or have lived here historically, and telling the story of our own watershed and how it connects to the ocean. We will still have some saltwater fish, but in the context of telling how the water goes to the ocean and how we have an impact even though we're so far inland.
So when did things change? When did it go from crazy idea to, hey, I think we can make this happen?
I think it came when the Jura family said, hey, we have this property. So we don't have a lot of money to donate, but we have this property that we have tried to farm, and it doesn't really work because it's by the river. There's a lot of sand and gravel. They can't grow anything. What about if we were to donate that to the aquarium? And, of course, we just fell in love with it. We went out there and saw it. And then
Perfect location.
Arthur Dyson, who's a great architect here, he's in the Tower District. He's just over on the next block off of Wishon. Great world-renowned architect, came out to the property and says, I can see this aquarium. And within 2 weeks, he had a rendering of what this thing was going to look like.
Now,
was
we
amazing.
have that rendering right here, don't we?
This is the Phase 1 rendering, yes. Now, there's going to be 2 different buildings on the site. Phase 1, which is the picture, and Phase 2, which is a much larger building. But we've got to do this in steps. That's why we're raising the money and then we're building it. It's not like we're going to go out and borrow the money, hope we can repay the loan,
Right.
and then have the whole thing crumble like so many things in Fresno.
Right.
The
We
magic.
don't need another Granite Park.
Granite Park.
Right.
Overextended, you know, and that's why it's taking longer. People say, well, this isn't going to happen because it's taking so long. Fresno needs to be patient. We have to raise the money and then pay for it so we're not up to our eyeballs in debt.
So when are we really looking at an aquarium being here?
A couple more years to get this first building started. The first part of it that we're going to build is the life support basement. And a lot of people are confused about the blocks. Why are we selling these blocks, and what are the blocks going to go for? The blocks are going to build this basement that building that's in the picture will be built upon.
Okay.
So you can imagine that even the Phase 1 building is being built in phases. But that basement will be a standalone building. It'll be an aquarium of its own. People will be able to come there, see fish, see the beginnings of our collection, and we'll just expand and expand and expand as the money comes in.
Now, you guys already have a bunch of tanks, right?
We do. Back in '09, the Steinhardt Aquarium up in San Francisco donated 12 major exhibits to our project.
Wow.
They were moving from their Howard Street location back to Golden Gate Park.
Right.
And that's when they said, hey, you know, would you like our tanks? We said, yeah. And they said, come and get them.
How big are they?
They're huge. One is 21 feet in diameter. Holds about 15,000 gallons of water.
So about the size of a backyard pool.
Huge, yeah. And they're great exhibits. They have acrylic windows. One of them is their penguin exhibit, and that acrylic window is 15 feet long. It's just huge.
Wow.
And about 6 feet tall. So it's an amazing window that's a solid acrylic, and we'll be able to make that into an exhibit. We won't have penguins, though.
Okay, because
as much as we would
because
like.
they don't live on the river.
No, that's really not appropriate for the Fresno Aquarium, at least not in Phase 1.
Now, the Phase 1, what's going to be inside there?
Well, the first thing you'll do when you walk in the door, you're going to see the San Joaquin River. You're going to see a recreation of what that river has looked like over time, historically, and then what it is today. So it's telling the story of water in the valley. And so people that are visiting our area, maybe visitors from Yosemite, people that normally wouldn't think to go to Fresno, will be able to get a little bit of a history about what we're what we're about and what's going on now. Then, of course, there's huge issues surrounding water.
Right.
You know, are we letting too much water out to the ocean to save a little delta smelt? Well, maybe they can come to the aquarium, see the delta smelt, learn about that. What are the
Can you really
issues?
see the delta smelt?
They're a great aquarium fish. One of the problems, though, they get sucked into the filters really easily. Yeah,
Poor smell.
poor smell.
Now, what other kinds of fish are we going to be? Will we see at the aquarium?
There's lots of cool fish. You know, the Sacramento perch was a native fish that was here. It's no longer in our river in our area, but it still exists out there. It hasn't gone extinct yet. That's a neat fish. The sturgeon. There's a white sturgeon, a green sturgeon. There's cool fish.
Sturgeon's an ugly fish.
They're ugly. They're
looks like a dinosaur, right?
Dinosaur fish, exactly.
It's crazy.
And these kind of animals that have lived here in our valley for hundreds of thousands of years, you know, we'll be able to show, here's what lived here before all this development took place. And we're not making a comment. We're not saying, oh, agriculture is bad or progress is bad. We're just telling the story of our valley. We understand that water is needed for people. And we have great support from the ag industry. A lot of farmers are our biggest supporters because they want to tell the story of the valley and how it's been transformed now into human uses. I mean, we have to have water. We have to have our showers every day.
Right.
We understand that. This isn't about, well, stop all human use of water and give it all to the fish. But we're going to tell the story so people can look at the history and make up their own minds.
Well, you talk about people supporting the aquarium. How is the support?
It's great. You know, right now we have a capital campaign going on. We just launched it last year. It's called From the Ground Up, where we're selling these blocks. We've sold now 485 blocks.
Excellent.
Who's counting?
Right.
You know, and we another 500 to go before we're really to the point where we can start saying, okay, let's put up at least the 4 walls and the roof for this Phase 1 basement, the life support basement. And that will become part of the Arthur Dyson designed aquarium, is you have to have a place for the life support systems, the tanks, the filters, the pumps that are behind the scenes that no one sees. You're not just looking at exhibits, you're actually building the infrastructure that'll go to support the future aquarium.
Now, has the city been working with you on really?
They have 100% support by the city council. Our property was put into the city of Fresno sphere of influence back in '09, about the same time the Steinhardt donated these aquarium tanks to us, and Arthur Dyson began designing this Phase 1 building. The Phase 1 building was not finished in its design until 2010. So I know people say, well, you've been at this for 20, 30 years. That's not really true. Really, 2010 is when he developed this design, and that's now what we're raising money to build.
Cool. Now, I heard a lot of people say, well, why isn't this by the zoo? Why did the zoo get in on it? Did you talk to them?
We did, and actually the city council, the former city council member Jerry Duncan, when he was a city council member, put it forward to the city council. It's like, well, let's give the aquarium 10 acres in Roding Park.
Right.
But he couldn't get other council to support it. I think one of the issues there is that the park is owned by the city, and we are a private nonprofit, whereas the zoo is city-owned. And so you start running into that whole issue. Do we really want to be owned by the government? And I think our board of directors, and certainly those of us who are behind this, said, you know, we'd rather be on our own property. We'd rather be near the river, which is what we're interpreting, rather than being in central Fresno. As much as we are for downtown revitalization, we're huge fans of the Tower District. We want to see these areas revitalized, but an aquarium is not going to do that. We need to interpret the river and therefore beyond the river so we can take kids down to see the river, actually experience the San Joaquin River.
Will there be river access?
Absolutely. Yeah, and it'll be controlled. We're going to have security down there, so it won't be, you know, worried about the kids walking by the river. We're going to have docent-led tours and walking along the riverbank. Then they can go into the aquarium and actually see the fish that live there and have lived there historically.
Very cool. Yeah. Very cool stuff. Now, I was we talked about the zoo and all that, but you know, once you guys are open, then everything changes, right?
It does.
Then if you have transportation going back and forth or whatever.
Absolutely. We've talked about that, having a shuttle bus that goes between the zoo and the aquarium and downtown convention center and all those places so people can get to it easily. We've actually
take that darn train out of there.
Well,
yeah,
the high-speed rail should have a station there at the aquarium, don't you think? The high-speed rail? Yeah.
I like it. Yeah. Now, the blocks, Tom, how do they buy those?
It's important that everybody understands that a block is something that an individual can lift. It's not too, well, it is kind of heavy, but see, an individual can actually hold a block. For $100, people can put their name on a block. You can put your individual name, your family name, even your company name on a block for $100. And that's how we're doing it. It's really a grassroots campaign. Now, if somebody wants to buy a large block, which is double the size, that's $200. So those are the two sizes that are available, 100 and 200. And 100, well, let's see, 485 blocks. We have 15 blocks to go to hit the 500 mark. I mean, I would love the viewers of this show today to say, okay, you know, $1,500, $1,500 will buy those last 15 blocks and we'll be at 500.
Excellent.
And that'll get us really much, much closer.
Tom, I'm super excited about this, and I'm super excited about the progress that you guys have made. Good luck with everything.
Thank you so
You guys
much.
want your name on a block? How do they do it?
It's tax deductible. Go to FresnoAquarium.org. 100% tax deductible. Buy a block, $100, $200, and you're set to go. Put your name on a block.
All right, Tom Lang, Fresno Aquarium.